Hello, people of TikTok. TikTok. That's something I gotta mention right now as we move into the conversation. Hello, people of YouTube, people of TV Land, people of Twitter, LinkedIn, um, Flickr. I don't know. There's so many platforms. I forget them all. I have a list of all those platforms that I somehow. First, I gotta learn how to use YouTube. Then I can use the other platforms. Instagram. Hello, people of Instagram. I think I'm gonna reconnect to Instagram. I used to have an Instagram account and I canceled it. I think I'm gonna reopen it because these videos really are worthwhile. I think the work I'm putting into them and the work that Edmund Hollingsworth is putting into this, I think our analysis is coming out pretty good, not so bad. After I've read so many papers, that's why I delayed till today to bring this video out because we're going to touch in a great array of things. Today's a mixed day. Let's call it a mixed conversation. Uh, we're going to start with TikTok. As you can see, TikTok has passed its line. According to the Trump man, a moral hazard individual, moral hazard president, moral hazard Donald Trump. I mean, he's a moral hazard from day one. I mean, I don't even know why I voted for him. I'm an independent voter, by the way, just in case somebody forgets and doesn't see my other videos. But I'm a conservative, independent voter, and I rather search for the truth because the truth will set me free. That's my motto. The truth will set me free, will set you free as well. Going back to TikTok, according to the executive order, it was supposed to be terminated today because the merger was halted by the Chinese, according to the newspaper, according to the people in other news, international news outlets, as well as the Associated Press. And, you know, I'm going to make a special video on newspaper and the media because I think there's a misconception. I know Trump has a misconception of everything. Now, Trump is a very special case, and I am going to touch on that today. Besides, I want to touch on the elections, which Edmund has been insisting me to do the election part. But I am going to touch on, well, I'm going to be, as we move along, we're going to be touching on Trump, but I'm not going to do the full analysis and criticism on him until I get to that segment. On TikTok, it's a good platform, and one of the things that Donald Trump says is that there's it's being used by the Chinese to spy on us, to spy on the U.S., and it's a bridge of national security. National security has become a buzzword. It has become a buzzword that is at a fast pace. It's losing its meaning of what national security is because everybody throws it around and it's coming to be a cliche. National security, the cliche, the word of a cliche. It no longer has its significance when it first started back in the Patriot Act. No longer has it has lost its meaning because everybody uses that, just like wiping their ass with a toilet paper. Now, that could be an inappropriate analogy, as many people might say, but it's a very clear and evident analogy of how many times it's being used and how negative it's turned out to be. So, national security, with all its acceptable meaning it has for the sovereignty of the United States, so you have to get used to the word sovereignty because that's something that I am going to use. And I know many politicians don't use it. I know Donald Trump doesn't use it because he doesn't know quack about sovereignty. He talks about the border like if it was the only thing that it's a domain here in the United States, but it's not. The border is just a dividing line. It separates one country from another. It's just like a property. You have your house, the next door neighbor has his house, and if they have a fence, it separates them. If you don't have a fence, there's still an invisible line that separates one property from another property. I mean, you just have to go to the city and get the zoning commission and see how what the property lines are. And basically, that's what it is. It's an international zoning committee or zoning arbitrage, to say the least. It determines the line where one country separates the other country. And this was determined a long time ago. So this is history. I'm not saying something new right now. All countries around the world have these divided lines. Not everybody is privileged to have three quarters of its border divided by a river, the Colorado River, which one quarter has no river, and that's where the fence is that Donald Trump is building or wanted to build because he never got too far on building that fence because Bush started the fence and then Obama continued the fence, and it never went past. It never hit New Mexico. It barely hit. I mean, it went into Arizona pretty much, and that's it. A little piece of the corner of Nevada that hits the border, which is nothing. It's probably a yard, but still, they can claim a border that 1 yard. But Arizona does have a border, so they probably got as far as Arizona, uh, to a part of Arizona, the beginning part of Arizona. I think it might have got to Yuma, maybe. Maybe just barely made it to Tucson. I haven't seen the actual aerial photographs of where the bridge is actually at. But according to Mr. Edmund, he's going to get the aerial photograph so we can look at it. So when that happens, you guys will be the first to know. I will report to you about what we find in the aerial photographs that Mr. Edmund found. So TikTok, that was his argument why he wanted to cancel the platform. TikTok is a pretty dynamic platform for those who are programmers, or for those who are programmers and those who are coders. Those who are coders pretty much understand the dynamics of algorithms, understand the dynamics of programming, understand the dynamics of how a software is put together and how the algorithms and decision bars are connected in order for the algorithm to operate correctly and make decisions based on behavior of the person using the TikTok. But it's not a computer science class. Yet, I don't think in the way the platform is set up, I don't think it merits anything that Trump said. Now, I could be wrong, but up to the information that I have and that I've seen on the platform, I don't think the platform has those type of back doors that can be used to offspring or jump spring into another software where it can be intrusive to the other software and it could travel throughout the net. That's a pretty big leap of faith to make. I don't think we're there yet. Perhaps with artificial intelligence, we might be able to do something along those lines. But to this moment, I don't think we have that capability where one software can jump into another software. Kind of like jumping from one building to another, like you see in the movies, and the guy flying in the air. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good trick. But that trick doesn't apply to the software. I mean, if there are softwares that are interconnected, there's a high possibility of being of a Trojan horse or a virus, or one of the many thousands of viruses that people come up with. But those have to be really good programmers in order to do that. It just doesn't take anybody. Like, no fluke in the sky. No coder could do that. I mean, it has to be a programmer who can develop the virus and make that virus in such a way that it can be plaguable. It can bend into different situations and mold to different situations and be able to infiltrate and do what it's supposed to do. But anyway, that's a different class. That's a different situation. So TikTok is not. I don't think it is, but that's what the Trump man says, and that's what the executive order is based on, and they want to buy it now. There is revenue on TikTok. There is no doubt in my mind there is revenue, like in Facebook. There's revenue in Facebook. In all applications, there's revenue. Even the free applications, like and I appreciate YouTube having this application, this platform on for us people who are working class and barely have. I mean, I only eat one time once a day. Believe me, I only eat once a day. I don't have 3 meals a day like most people do. No, I have 1 meal a day. Like I said before, you make choices, and sometimes your choices backfire so bad you go hit the dish. You go down into the ditch, and so it be. What is it is what it is. I'm not here to whine or to lament my situation. I'm just saying what it is. I eat 1 meal a day, and that's all. And hopefully, and like I said, I thank YouTube, and hopefully YouTube hears me, and they can understand where I'm coming from. That I appreciate highly their services as having this platform, so I can communicate information that I think adds listener, and hopefully the algorithm also is in par with me that this information is valuable. So TikTok, it's still on. Nothing has changed. All the TikTokers are still TikToking away. It has decreased somewhat, but not that much. Yet, because also there you got to think about the competition. There's three or four. Don't quote me on this number. There's three or four new platforms that have just surfaced. There are competition not only to TikTok but here to YouTube as well. And those competition promise, if one is a Telegram, promise to be better than this current ones that we have, and have more open, has more availability, has more space. Uh, you can tweet better. I mean, using Twitter as an example, Twitter has 40 characters. The competition that came out, I think they go up to 100 characters, which, hell, that's a good number. 50 would have been a great number too. We'll leave TikTok at where it is. There might be changes, there might not be changes. We got 45 days, maybe 44 days to go for the end of the Trump era. Thank God. And believe me, I did vote for the man, but he is a total disappointment to me. He is a great disappointment to me. He and all his clan in there. And if anybody brought nepotism, that's him. So they say, "Oh, Joe Biden has nepotism." No, Joe Biden doesn't have nepotism. His sons are not. His only son is not involved in anything within the. He might be on the peripheral side, which I think the peripheral side is okay, but Ivanka and Jared Kushner and Don Jr., they're in the inside. They're not on the periphery. They're right next to him, and they are actually doing functions for the public administration, which that's nepotism. And if nobody in Congress, especially the senators, didn't say anything and didn't put any opposition, especially the people in his party, Mitch McConnell and douchebags. So there's a couple of douchebags there. I mean, most of them are douchebags. Uh, they don't say anything, so nepotism goes on. I mean, it's okay with them, but what if somebody else brings them up? Then they'll go into hell drive. Oh, the sky is falling. They're going to this Chicken Little effect. Oh, the sky is falling. This guy has a son inside, and it's nepotism. It's against the Constitution. Oh, but if Trump has the people, oh, it's not against the Constitution. Then see how false the situation has become. I mean, I give granted to the strike that the truck drivers want to get one of their things is, that they don't agree with what's happening, and that there's fraud, and there's fallacies, and the country's not right, and politicians. Yeah, well, I would agree with some parts of them. I mean, maybe 1/17th of what they're saying with respect to what they're saying, but it's There is truth behind some of that. There is corruption in our country. There is corruption in the upper levels over there with Lindsey Graham. I mean, that guy squeezed his way through, which I'm surprised. He squeezed his way through. That is, and I'd be surprised if he didn't cheat. I mean, if there's people that didn't cheat for him, I'd really be surprised if he cleaned his way through in the squeeze, because the squeeze that comes out it's a very small percentage, which can easily be made into voter fraud. See, big gaps. That's kind of like a hard kill. I mean, you have to really have a lot of no shame to be caught in doing that. But a small squeeze, it can easily be made. It can easily be created, a small squeeze. I've seen it done in other countries, in third world countries. They do that squeeze. Oh man, they do it easy. I mean, they're professionals at that shit. Incredible. Okay, enough of TikTok. So let's go to the next thing. I'm gonna go from the back of what I wrote on the title, and let's talk about the reset. There's a big hullabaloo going on out there in YouTube land, in Twitter land, Instagram land, and in nowhere land because it's out in the different institutions, both the Christian community, and I'm just going to say Christian community because it's all fragmented. You can go to Baptist, blah, 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 blah. But I think most of the people who are giving all this rhetoric of the reset and all the doomsdayers are part of the non-denominational Christians. The people who are not Baptist, are not Methodists, they're not Presbyterians, they're not Seventh Day Adventists. Those guys are pretty much more calm and tend to be more structured and not go into this hype of predicting the future and setting up dates. Christ is coming and the world's coming to an end. Get your gear ready. Stack your house full of. I mean, what purpose does it have? If Christ is coming, what good is it going to make if I'm going to stack my house full of food and full of survival gear? If I'm going on the rapture, I'm going because I'm true to God. I'm honest to God. I'm not bullshitting God. That's pretty clear, right? I could have said it differently, but I wanted to avoid going to a ramp over here. So I'm not doing none of that. So if I'm going to the rapture, everything's going to stay behind. If I'm going to stay left behind, but left behind, well, yeah, that's going to be something else. You know, you get left behind, you're going to be here in the dumps, and forget about it. Forget about all this food that you have stacked up. If they attack your people, the people go crazy. Just like in the movies. I mean, there's a ton of movies on that on that subject matter. Elijah, that's the one. I think it's with Denzel Washington, if I'm not wrong. And that's a good movie. It tells you about the future. There's several. I mean, there's tons of movies on end times without them saying it's end times. They just say the future of the world. So I mean, it's kind of like Mad Max. You know, you go back to the early movies of Mel Gibson when he was a young guy, Mad Max. You can see Mad Max, and you'll see and then today the only difference is they beefed it up a little bit. Still the same crap of the end of the world. The world's all beat up, and they're surviving on scraps. They're looting and they're looking for food everywhere because there's no food and everything's bombarded, and only an elite group is taking control of the world. Pretty much that's it. The elite group. There you have it. That's the fate of the world. We're doomed. So the Great Reset is basically what you're looking at is another revolution, industrial revolution. We're going through a change. Now, some of you listeners have gone through change. Your companies have changed. ISO 9000. Anybody's gone through that transformation stage of ISO 9000 probably know what I'm talking about. Some of the other efficiency models that are out there, the Toyota model and all these other models that are the Motorola model, Sigma 6 and Sigma 7 and Sigma whatever, you're going through this transformation, this change of not only of technology but of the way you work and the way you interact, not only with each other but also with the equipment, with the machines, with your procedures, what you're going to take, how you're going to maximize your time and effort in the production cycle. So the you want the output, or the other word, the throughput. You want it to go out pretty smoothly and evenly and have the enough product in order for that product to be sold. So you sell it whether you're in, and here's where the supply chain comes in, and you distribute your product to whoever buys it. If it's a blender, people who make blenders, they might need wire, they might need a little motor, and you're doing them. And this company where you work at makes a little motor for the blenders, and you send the motor off, and everybody, and then the consumer buys the blender, and they make their juice. Pretty much that's the way this works in a very simplistic manner, but that's the way it works. The Great Reset, and we went through this already. Back in the 50s, I'm not going to use the 50s because it goes further back, but I'm not going to go dive into this all historical web out there. I'm just going to use a arbitrary timeline that I chose, 1950, and then from there I'm going to come down to the present, saying that computers were built back in those days. We've been evolving in the computer age as we go along. There's been some other things that have been evolving also, little by little. There's more trinkets are coming in, some improvements in the automobile industry, and all the way up to today, where the automobile is a computer efficient equipment that you step on the gas and everything is run by computers inside. The synchronization of the motor, the gas, the oil, the frictions, everything goes through a computerized system that everything is modulated through a program that coordinates all the pieces of the car to work in tandem with what the demand is, which is move forward, move backwards, accelerate, etc., and all the other pieces that go into the car. Those are changes that have been taking place. The TVs have changed. The computers have been more modernized. There's more accessibility to better and more dynamic languages to program with. We're not working with the old Fortran, with the old COBOL basic. We're moving more into C++ and all this other jargon that goes into play for the newer programs that are program languages that are being developed that are more efficient, more effective. They communicate better with the internet, eh, and the transmitters, and the Intel is making great headways on Intel chips. So all this revolution that is taking place behind everything else, and the political system, people know this. They're aware, and they become aware of this one way or the other. They learn of how all this is because they're in different circles, and they get talk to different people, and they talk to them, and pretty soon you get to know what's going on. They read magazines like this one. You can see it right here. I don't know why it looks backwards from my end. Hopefully it looks right on your end. And you get informed, and you become more aware of some of the issues that are taking place, and the dynamics that is moving forward. And you have to be cognizant of this. I mean, you can't put it aside and forget about it. No, because we are moving. Think about it. Think about many things that have disappeared. There's work that people used to make. They don't work anymore in those fields. There's a computer that does that. Typists. How many people know about typists? We don't. I mean, data entry people. They do just on the computer. They do data. There used to be typists, hundreds of typists, thousands of typists. to do spreadsheets, to do things. Now we everything's digitized and becoming more and more digitized. So that revolution is a digitized revolution, to put it in those words. And that digitized revolution is going to change totally the way we live. Now, the coronavirus. I mean, I had to bring the coronavirus in place. The coronavirus is something that it's not exactly what it is, or it's not. Edmund is trying to get a hold of somebody. We're trying to get a microbiologist. We think that the microbiologist would be the best person to do this. Now, there could be other scientists in the medical biology field that could do this, but we need somebody to do a reverse engineering on the virus itself. It's not just how the virus behaves or what it does and doesn't do, which you don't need to be a highly sophisticated individual that has many years of study to determine how it affects people. You just observe the people and that's it. But you need to know what the composition of that virus is. Now, many of the vaccine people are coming out with RNA, for example. Uh, Moderna is coming out with a vaccine that is RNA based. And Pfizer, I think, is also another one that has some type of RNA, DNA inserted in it. If they do have that type of vaccine, and if they did a reverse engineering on that virus, they split it and saw the insides and saw how it's put together. Maybe it was a man manipulated virus that is floating around. It's not a virus that mutated like the blue bonnet virus or the Spanish virus back in 1917 and the blue bonnet back in the 1500s. That the blue bonnet was probably the deadliest one before the Spanish one, the Spanish virus. Yeah, the Spanish virus did took its toll, but it wasn't that bad. But the blue bonnet, the black plague, they called it back in those years. The black plague killed about three-quarters of the population of the world. That was no chicken shit. That was a damn bad virus. And what do we have? We had pioneer medical people who were in the pioneer stage of the formation of what we know as a medical professional today. There's no, I mean, but did they try? They looked at the people and they tried to preserve the people, and many people escaped. I mean, like I said, almost three-quarters of the people in the world global population, the world population, died of the Black Plague. Where I mean, wherever it passed by, it was like killing people left and right, and it had a devastating effect on people. And they turned. That's why they call it the blue plague, because their lips turned black and their face turned blue. So it was a very bad situation because it affected the respiratory system. That's why they turned blue. It affected the respiratory, the lungs, and that's something that is happening right now. The coronavirus is affecting the respiratory system, but not the bronchial system. It's really affecting once it crosses. I mean, it doesn't stop at the bronchial level, and then you just add antibiotics and kill it. No, it goes beyond. It goes infects into the lung area, into deep uh, lung tissue, and it becomes an inhibitor to breathing, and it forms mucus because the antibodies are trying to kill it, trying to kill the virus, and the mucus forms, and pretty soon you got mucus, an abundance of mucus, and you can't breathe, you can't expel it out, and it becomes a uphill battle because lungs are a very sensitive area. If you can't just put in a tube down your throat and trachea and pull out the mucus like a vacuum cleaner. You'll destroy the lungs, and then one thing leads to another. You kill the person no matter what. So it becomes a really sensitive area to catch it at the beginning stages because an advanced stage is just kiss yourself goodbye because you're not going to live worse than cancer. And according to the politicians, it's a bug that's going to go away. But I don't think not, if it's man manipulated, it's not going to go away. I mean, other bugs die. They have a cyclical life. It's like a fly. The flies just live and they have a short span of life and they die. And no matter what happens, they go away. Unless you have so much crap out there that even though they die, they hatch all these eggs and new flies are born, and it's just a never-ending uh, infestation of flies. But if pretty much you have clean areas and the flies come this way, they die. They have a short cycle. So take that into consideration. This virus doesn't seem to have a very short cycle and die out very fast. It seems to have a mutation cycle, and that's what the scary thing about it. Now, there's people who are doing vaccines. I hope they took that into consideration because, I mean, with the literature that I've been reading, I mean, it doesn't really picture me that. That's why I want to get a hold of somebody who's a microbiologist and be with that person and take notes and see the chemistry in that virus and, and and see if there's anything different about one virus and another virus and another virus because that in itself is just not like, oh, we saw the virus 10 years ago. It was around. Well, what happened? You have the Ebola virus. You got all this viruses floating around like confetti, and some doctors, oh, we saw the virus. Well, good for you. You saw it, but what did you do about it? What did you guys did you guys push to see more of what the virus was about, how the virus behaved since it was a novel virus, or because you saw the Ebola virus and you just dropped the issue and forgot about it? And that's what's important about this. You gotta make sure that you're doing the right thing in your analytical work, the work of a professional, somebody who really is passionate about their career. You're not just boasting that, oh, I'm a doctor and I have all this information, I have all this information. Yeah, I can do the same thing. I can boast of everything I have, but that doesn't solve the problem. Boasting doesn't solve the problem, and it doesn't carry you nowhere. It's a nowhere situation. So either you put your nose to the grindstone and really look into it, and that's what the doctor should be doing. Professional doctors who didn't waste their time going to medical school because they wanted to uh, put money in their pockets, tons of money because everybody pays them. The pharmaceuticals pays them, the clients pays them, the hospital pays them. They get kickbacks from all kinds of chemical people, and they can do all kinds of crap. And as long as they don't get caught, which is hard to catch them unless somebody squeals on them, so it's a big profitable thing, and they earn, what is it, about $200 for every 15 minutes or 10 minutes or 5 minutes. Units, it's crazy. It's just crazy. Put it at the average of 10 minutes. 10 minutes for every 10 minutes in a 60-minute cycle. You made what? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, about $1,600, give or take some money here and there. That's a lot of money for 1 hour. You're working 8 hours. Shoot, man, that's a lot of money. And sometimes those doctors don't even spend 5 minutes with you, and you're out. They do some type of weird prescription. And many times it's a guess. They don't actually know what's wrong with you. They go by the symptomology, and they say, "Oh yeah, those symptoms have this characteristics." And so association said this is what's going to happen, and they skim through the information. And they just prescribe. Hopefully, you'll hit the nail on the head by accident. And many times they miss the nail, but the human body has its own defenses. So whatever they gave the person, plus its own defenses, they walked out and they got better. That's all that matters, and that's all that matters to them. That's all that matters to the patient. So it's important that we look at all these things, that we care for ourselves, and that's why it's so important right now to wear the mask, because we don't know what we're dealing with exactly, and we're living in this uncertainty, and we don't know if you're sneezing, coughing. Uh, are you borderline in the coronavirus? Is there a virus commingling in there with the other virus, and because of the symptoms and everything is kind of flu-like or cold-like, whatever you want to say. So the precaution is really what matters. You're cautious. You're taking preventive steps from infecting other people and further damaging yourself. That's pretty much it. The masks, most masks, or at least the masks I know, have uh, have breathing space, so you can breathe to a certain level. So you're not going to be around people all day. So there's a certain point where you can take the mask off or open your nose, bring it down below your nose so you can use your nose to breathe air, clean air, and refresh yourself. And then you can put the mask back on. But it's important to have those small moments where you can bring it below your nose so you can refresh yourself by breathing the normal oxygen that's out there in the atmosphere. Who knows how bad it is, but it's not good anyway. We're no longer back in the wee days of the uh, you know 1300s, back in the time of Jesus when the air was actually clean. Now we got all the crap going on in the air, so we don't know what the hell we're breathing. We're breathing crazy stuff, and we're eating crazy food, all genetically modified food. So who knows what we're eating? And the cows are also genetically modified cows and chickens and eggs. Everything's being manipulated by man to technically give the consumer a better, and they're consumers too. Unless they have secret spaces where they have certain things that are more natural than what they're selling to people. But it's incredible what's going on with this. So that's with respect to the coronavirus. Now, with the coronavirus, at the same time, it's been said that it's helping for the reset and helping to program all this, because one of the things that's going to be the trimmer of all trimmers in today's world is going to be the money. So what happens if money disappears? What are you going to do? First you're going to panic and say, "Oh man, there's no money in the store. I went to Kmart, I went to Walmart, and they don't have money, physical money. I'm going to have to pay with my card, and my card says that I don't have that much money." So there's things are going to get totally bizarre because things are going to switch in such a dramatic way that it will be hard for the people to adjust. That's what the reset is all about. You're going to have a hard time adjusting to the new way of life, because even though the coronavirus is ushering a new way of life, a new way of prevention, a new way of looking at things, you're going to see the new wave of of the third or fourth industrial revolution in a whole new way, beginning with the money. The currency is not going to be available. The artificial intelligence is going to be starting to take over. Robotics is going to start to take over jobs. Drivers are not going to be no longer needed. So taxis are going to be able to drive themselves. Fossil fuel is going to be slowly eliminated, and we're going to enter into a new type of energy bearing system where the energy will be more than abundant. And in part be nuclear energy, in other parts going to be solar energy, wind energy. So there's going to be all sorts of energy means that's going to come into play, and even the grid is going to change. We're no longer going to have the old grid where we have uh, the electric companies. It's going to be a whole new ball of wax that's coming in. And all those changes are going to impact us directly. Directly. We're going to be impacted like we've never been impacted before. I mean, when the railroads showed up, when the steamboats showed up, all this that we see in the movies, when the automobile showed up, the airplane showed up, all those were kind of shockers, but people got used to them rather quickly. This one is a total change because when you change the monetary system, you change the political system, you change the way you address because of the wave that's coming in with artificial intelligence, with the wave that's coming in with robotics, with the wave that's coming in with medicine and pharmaceuticals, with the wave that's coming in with the healthcare industry, with the wave that's coming in on communications and the wave of the internet. All these pieces are coming together, and we're going to have to adjust one way or the other. And we're going to have to be ready to take our place in this society. Now, whether that's a precursor to the Antichrist, it could be. It could be the precursor to the Antichrist. I might be willing to throwing $10 to bet on it, it would be the precursor to the Antichrist because it sets the wheels in motion to a new system, a new monetary system, a new productive system, a new distribution system, and a change of work style. We're going to work from different places. We're going to be serving different menus. I mean, customer service is probably going to go up in scale, or probably it's going to be slowly eliminated where you have computer robots, computerized robotic interfaces where they will take orders and only certain groups will be available to deal with the general public, where the robots still can't juggle, but with artificial intelligence, they'll be able to be plugged into the people, and pretty soon they'll be able to take over what the people did, because that's the thing about artificial intelligence. It's not that they're intelligent beings, is that they're learning beings. That's the scary part about it. They're machines that learn. We learn, you learn, your neighbors learn, your kids learn. And now you have machines that are going to be learning machines. They're going to learn what you do. They're going to learn your skill. They're going to learn your trade. They're going to learn how you speak. They're going to learn your habits. They're going to learn your taste. They're going to learn everything. They're going to learn how to operate. They're going to learn your behavior. So this robotics and artificial intelligence and digitized world that we're going to be in, we are in a digitized revolution, is going to really offset the whole thing that we are. So this coronavirus could be the precursor to coming into the digitized world, and we're going to be able to do extraordinary things that we only see in Star Trek or Space War or all these futuristic movies. We might be able to do that, but my theory of the universe is totally different. I'll do a video on my theory of the universe, but nonetheless, that's where we're going. I mean, credit to who credit belongs. Whether he developed Space Force to be a special branch that's going to dedicate itself to space exploration, and space military and space delivery. Where does that leave NASA? So somehow NASA is going to be incorporated or Space Force is going to be incorporated into NASA, so that can be one body that will be will be whose task will be to explore space, to explore the wonder of space, the tactical features of space. But then you get another question. You're in space and you're looking at other countries, and how will that affect their sovereignty? How will the space, Russia send space out there, Chinese can send space out there, individuals like Edmund Musk could send something out there and be looking down. How will that affect the sovereignty? The sovereignty of the US, the sovereignty of France, the sovereignty of Czechoslovakia, the sovereignty of Japan. How is a sovereignty deal going to be handled since in space you're going to be crossing borders like there's no mañana? You're going to be able to look down, gather information of what's happening in Sudan, while Sudan is oblivious of what's happening out in outer space, and there's a telescope looking down at them on seeing their maneuver, and the telescope could be there for days and days and months and not move and move with the Earth at the same time as the Earth is rotating, and they'll be able to gather everything there is to know and more of what happens in the Sudan. I mean, it's incredible what can happen. Now, could that lead to war? Of course, that could lead to war. Anything leads to war. But all this hostility, all this change is going to make some people richer than others. I'm going to say a few words with respect to the elections. The elections has been a trifle situation. It's an embarrassment to have this situation surface now with an idiotic individual who has not only a prima donna disposition and is hostile, which is the other thing, not only prima donna, but is hostile and vindictive and has all these negative traits, remorseful, who wants to get even with the people, who now has taken it personally, psychologically has taken it personally, and doesn't want to accept that people don't like him. People don't like him. They don't like him. I don't like him personally, and I voted for the guy. Didn't vote this time, but I did vote for the guy. I'm an independent voter. I don't have any party affiliation. So I look at I weigh both sides, or I weigh three sides or four, but I weigh the two main ones where that makes the bulk. See, one vote makes the difference. One vote counts, no matter what the scale is. But in all this position that is going on, you got all kinds of crazies that forcibly want the same guy to stay in power because that gives them the latitude to stay in power as well. It's a domino effect situation where one man stays in power, but then you have all this other little power players that stay in power. The McKinney girl stays in power. The Giuliani guy stays in power. The Pompeo guy stays in power. And for example, the GSA woman, the Murphy lady. I mean, what is she, you know, tooting about? She's a cabinet official. But because this is a Trump era and and the Republicans are holding office and the Republicans have been the ones who try to scam everybody all at the same time. Richard Nixon did the Watergate scandal. What was he? A Republican. Who other? George Bush did some crazy shit, and he got backed up by the Republicans, and he's a Republican. And there's a Republican seems to be screwing everybody up. I mean, they want the power, but they want to screw the people, and that's not right. and they argue, oh no, well, we started right. Well, yeah, yeah, you started right. You started on the right foot, and then you switch foots. That's the bad thing. You switch foots. It's not a switch foot situation. Either you stick to your guns or you were playing a willy nilly situation where you're a rascal and you really didn't mean what you said. You just started to gain confidence and then move your way up the ladder. When you had the opportunity, you switched because that was the plan all along. It's a chaotic plan, but doesn't matter. It's a plan itself. Chaos has plans in itself. Chaos is not, or anarchy is not something that has random deals rolling all over the place with no place to go. No, it's a plan. There's a plan behind the anarchy. There's a plan behind the chaos. There's plans and movements and direction in all ways. So please don't try to bullshit me on that concept. But there's a plan, and Donald Trump doesn't want to give up because he has vested interest in staying in office. He could have been what like a Johnson, or, somebody that just was one term president, and that was it. And he conceded, and life goes on. But this guy doesn't want to concede because he has vested interest. He has big time vested interest. He doesn't care about the people. The people is not what motivates him to be in office. It's the money that motivates him to be in office. It's the power that motivates him to be in office because he can bully people around. He can be at the bully pulpit and 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 spit, you know, all kinds of venom towards the press and call them enemy of the state when he, Donald J. Trump, is the enemy of the state. And I'll say it right now. He is the enemy of the state. He's a moral hazard. He's an enemy of the state. So he is not a legitimate person that says, "Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, they stole the election from me." No, they didn't steal the election from me. The people do not like him. So that leads us into populism, which is going to be just the last 5 minutes of this conversation. Populism, as we said in my previous video that I started on populism, and I'm coming back to the topic. I think it's going to be video 2 on populism or video 3 on populism. I think it's video 2 on populism. Uh, it's something that I've been reading and I've been looking at and I've been studying. Populism, as I know it, it still holds the way I know it, the way I described it in my video, part 1 of populism. It's really what it's all about. It's how you manipulate the people to do what you want them to do, to follow you. It's a cult. It's basically a cult if you go down to its root essence of populism. It's a cult. Now, there's people like Bernie Sanders. Now I'm going to use Bernie Sanders. I hope he doesn't mind. I'm going to use Bernie Sanders as an example. Bernie Sanders has this populistic angle because he is animated, he is effervescent, he's bubbly, and he emits emotions, and the people get excited to hear what he says. And he accuses the 1%, which is the richest of the rich. I don't think the 1% is only the rich. There's a lot of rich people here in the U.S., but the 1% is the richest of the rich. And his angle is to bring down some of those resources, get some of those resources to bring them down, and to give opportunity for those resources to alleviate the pain of the rest of society, like me, like you, working people. Give them a little better pay, give them a better standard of living, provide for the people. Some people just rake up the money and they hold it. No, we want the people to get a little bit of a better fair share of the pie and not be starving. Even though I eat one meal a day, I give thanks to God that I have one meal a day that I can do. But I'm not the kind of guy that has three meals a day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's all packed into one. And I'm not crying about it. I'm just saying so you can understand the example of what Bernie Sanders wants to do. He's not a socialist. He's not a communist. He's just somebody who looks and feels for the welfare of the people. Now, welfare of the people is done in any capitalist society. Capitalism in itself, if you read on it, if you read the political science on capitalism, if you read capitalism from the angle of sociology or economics, where I am, political economics, where I am, so capitalism, yes, it's a profit bearing thing, but they also is a system that tends to share. Andrew Carnegie is a perfect example of capitalism. Andrew Carnegie made the biggest steel company over there in Pittsburgh. He was king of steel. And what happened? He sold it off and he helped society through his philanthropy. That's capitalism right there. Andrew Carnegie is an example of capitalism. And there's more. Now there's families that are very tight wads and they don't want to share. Well, that's their business. They don't want to share. So in order for the government try to funnel, not keep, because the government can keep it, and line up the pockets. You line up the pockets of the politicians. The idea should be, or if I understand Bernie correctly, is to funnel that money to the people, to you and me and others that are in the same basket case, and maybe we can improve our lives and move up the ladder a little bit. Now, a note on that on this populism deal. I think, and I hope uh, Joe Biden receives this video. But I think small business deserves a push, a leverage, in order for small business to not only thrive, but since it hires people, it can hire more people. But also, not only hiring people is part of the deal, and the people are still starving because small business pays them SWAT, but the small business be able to pay them a decent salary. So that's where the leverage comes in. And it's just a push for those businesses that do want to grow. Not, I ran into, I mean, entrepreneurship is part of me, and I ran into hundreds, if not thousands, of businesses that people say, I don't want to grow, I want to stay small. Well, good for you, stay small. It doesn't matter. Stay in your little store and cater to the people who need that emergency milk at midnight or those eggs early in the morning and can't go to the grocery store. So that little store satisfies a purpose and a need that's what business is all about. You supply a need that exists, and you are a timely place for people to go and buy the things they need in a timely manner. And of course, you're not abundant like a grocery store. You have finite product, but those are the essentials that people need: milk and crackers and cereal and potato chips and Cheetos and all this other stuff that people need. Snack on, just a quick bite of something in order to keep going. So there's a suffice of need that takes place in that small business, and that person doesn't want to grow anymore. Okay, so then you got another person who says, "Yeah, I want to grow. I want to be able to be a bigger contractor. I want to be able to do my own stuff." Okay, leverage those people because you know that as they grow, they also grow in training. They also have this workforce that comes in and learns and the trade. And pretty soon, from five people that they had, now they have 15, now they have 20, now they have 50. Now they have 1,000 people working for them because they grew and they're growing. And that leverage will pay back to the system in taxes. It's a cycle. The wheels turn. You don't get it directly back, but you get it indirectly back, but you leveraged it. That was the most important part because one of the things that before the leverage kicks in, you have to make sure that the people wants to grow. With growth, then you put into play the market. And in a market economy, or the capitalism, capitalism is the umbrella of everything. So in the marketplace, now you have a small business that's growing. Either the big one wants to buy it, or these guys want to stay alone, but they are a competition to this other company that's already there. So let's say there's a Johnson and Johnson here, and here comes this new company, and they have also baby powder, and they have better baby powder, and they also have gel and jelly and diapers and food. Excuse me. And that's what you see here in this play. So that's what's going to take place in a harmony like that. Can am I going to say that's perfect? No, it's not perfect because we're in an imperfect world and things are imperfect. The important thing is we move into that direction. Now that's from a Bernie Sanders standpoint of view, what he's saying and what he's accused of. And I say he's not. That accusation does not hold water. He's not a socialist, and he's not a communist, and he's not definitely not wanting to be a dictator. So, with that in mind, all the communist countries that I know, maybe you do too, maybe you don't, they all have dictators. All the socialist countries that I know have dictators. Now, where you have a social democracy, that's a blend of a democracy with capitalism and socialism. So you got this three-way blend that's moving around that sooner or later will find its equilibrium and it'll be a two-faced situation. But by that time, they might have reached their goal if that's what their goal wanted to be. They wanted to achieve that level, and they wanted to get to that point in time, both in structure and culture and in dynamics. That's understandable. You don't have a dictator there. You're seeing a society move in a given direction because they have a plan. But then you have some country, the country of Donald Trump, that he's a populist, and there's another guy in Italy, a Salvani, who has that same thrust, who is creating a cult, just like Jamestown, just the Waco people, and the Manson people, and there's a bunch of little examples of people that have created this mirage, this of illusion, which is that's what it is. It's an illusion, and it's not because they say one thing and they do another, and their whole thrust is to control and oppress. They can talk about people. They can talk about how great the people are. They can talk about that they stand and they'll take the hit and not the people. That's a bunch of BS. They don't take no hits. They don't stand in your place. They say they do, but they don't. And and and, and they'll run when something bad's coming down their way. They don't stand there and say, "Oh, I want to stand here." No, they run like jackrabbits. So they're people who manipulate, dominate, harass, intimidate, and of course they got all the other negatives like vindication, resourcefulness, resentfulness, and everything else that goes along with it. And they're prima donnas, but they want to control the people. The idea is to hypnotize the people so you can get to the example and say, "These people are going to follow me because I say so. And it's my way or the highway, period." That's the way it is. Okay, well, I'm going to stop there. I hope you guys, I've been used, this has been useful information analysis, gave you a little bit insight into what's happening in our imperfect world. I hope my work is not in vain and I've been able to contribute to your knowledge and your understanding of what we're up against and what we're doing in this world. So, with all this, I say God bless you and you have a nice evening.